Hi guys, my name is Darren Hudson from Evolve Baits, and today we're at Bonehill Mill Fishery in Tamworth to show you guys how I go about fishing the method feeder with pellets in the colder months. So, here at Bonehill you've got to use standard fishery pellets. So, with that in mind, what I like to do is make mine stand out from other people's. So I'll add an additive to it, and what that would be is the Amino Liquid, the one. This is my favourite one, to be fair, for pellets. And what I'll do, I'll add this to my pellets, and it'll just give me that edge to say someone who I'm pegged next to who's just fishing standard coarse pellets, if you like. And like, the thing is with these are not cheaply made. They're not just some of the glycerine with some colourants added and some flavours added and all that, and you don't need a lot of them either. So you just need to bear in mind, when you apply them to your pellets, you want to apply them after you've drained them off. So you don't want to add this to your water that you're using to soak your micros, because you know, a minute, 2 minutes after they've been soaked, you're going to drain them off. So all you're doing is potentially draining some of the liquid off. So what I like to do is soak my micros as normal, give them a minute or two, and then when I've drained them off and then they've just got that little bit of water left on them just to take on before they bind, I'll add the liquid then, because as they're taking on that last bit of water, they'll take on the rest of the liquid. You're not draining nothing off. So the liquid, all the liquid that you put on, you're effectively keeping on your pellets. And like I say, when they're taking on that last bit of water, they'll take on the whole liquid as well, which, to be fair, it really will give that edge that's needed, opposed to someone who's not using it. So in the colder months, I like to give myself options in the strength of, I'll start short. Like today, I've started off at 20 metres. I know I'm at 20 metres because I've gone off the measuring sticks. So I've got about 40 metres as a maximum chuck. I've never fished this venue, so what I want to try and do is get the most out of my peg. So by starting at 20 metres, it's giving me the option to go out to 40 metres, because in the colder months they don't really want to feed. Although there's been a few fish caught here the last few days, it's still more about going to them rather than chucking down the same hole all day and hoping they're going to come to you. So even though I've started short, just past the pole line at 20 metres, I've got options to go further. Like now I'm at 35 metres. When we got here this morning at 20 metres, I've had 2 or 3 chucks about, I've had 1 carp and a skimmer, and then it's just gone dead. So I've unclipped, pulled a bit of line off, clipped back up, I've got another 5-8 metres beyond the 20 metres, and I've caught again, and then that went dead. And I've just followed that process out to 35 metres. So by doing that, what you're doing, you're maximising your chances of getting the most out your peg. If you go full on straight out to 40 metres and you start catching and then it goes dead, what you've done, you've limited yourself. You've got really nowhere to go. Yeah, you can go left, you can go right, but you can't go any further than that because I'm at halfway. So I'm just going to push them fish over to the blokes on the opposite bank. So like I said, by starting that little bit shorter, when I've had a few and it's gone a little bit quiet, they've backed off, I can follow them out. And that's what you've got to try and do. You've got to try and get into your head that it's not about chucking down the same hole all day and building a swim up, because they don't want to feed. So you've got to give yourself options on where you're going to go next when that line eventually dies. And by doing that today, what we've done, we've kept in touch with the fish and we've kept fish coming slowly, but we've kept in tune with them fish. If I'd have stayed at 20 metres and stayed there all day, I may have not caught another fish, or I may have caught the odd fish, but by following them out, I've managed to put extra fish in my net. And like I said, at this time of year, you've got to try and think about doing that, because at the end of the day, that can be the difference between, you know, picking your section up, framing, or even winning the match. You only need 1 or 2 bonus fish this time of year, and if you can get around the fact that you've got to go to them, you just might achieve catching that 1 extra bonus fish, and that can be the difference between you picking up and not picking up. Okay, so I've just unclipped, gone a little bit further, and to be honest with you, it's only been in 2 minutes and it's gone round straight away. So it kind of highlights the fact of you've got to just follow them out, you've got to go to them, you've got to try and find them. It's kind of really happening now. So hopefully I can just start on this without going any further and have a few more. But it's just, you just can't stress enough about having to move, because like I say, they don't really want to feed. You've got to really get to them, you've got to try and find them. And if that means following them out, then you've got to follow them out. You might have to go a little bit left, a little bit right, but you've got to try and find them. But that doesn't mean to say later on in the day you can't go back on that original 20 metre line, because they just could turn up on that as well a little bit later, especially if it warms up a little bit. That's the reason why I've got a duplicate rod set up behind me. That duplicate rod isn't just for if I have any breakages on this or tangles or anything like that. It's just so I know I can pick that rod back up later on and go back on the 20 metre line and know I'm exactly at 20 metres again, because I'm measuring up off the measuring sticks. And I can't stress that point enough. You need to know where you're starting. You can't just chuck it and think, well, you know what, that there to do, that there looks about right, because that won't do. Because if you don't know where you're starting, you won't know where you've got to go after, if you have got to move. Well, another additive that I've added to my micros today are the munchies from the Additions range at Evolved. Now, I'll add these to my micros in the winter purely for the visual aspect of it, because of the colour of them. Like I said before, you're not looking to build a swim up, you're looking to put something in front of their noses that's visual, because they're feeding more so on sight. So not only have you got to try and locate them, you've got to move around and find them, but you need something to put in front of them that's a visual thing, because they are feeding more so on a sight thing. So that's why I've added the munchies into my micros. They're a toasted crumb, they're then dyed with the colours, and then they have aminos infused in them. So what they're designed for, they're designed to not only attract fish into your swim, but to also keep fish into your swim. They are a form of a food source, so by having them, attracting them into your swim, they'll keep them in there as well. But in the summer, I'll also add them to my micros. If I can't use ground baiting down the bank, that's what I use them for, to attract them in there. But like I say, they'll keep them in your swim a lot longer as well. Okay, so into another fish at 40 metres. It feels like a decent fish, to be honest. What I did, I changed to a yellow sinking amino dumbbell. Was catching on red, went through the motions, had a few on the red, had a few on orange, I've just put a yellow one on and it's gone round. So it feels like a decent fish. But again, it's just stressing that point. I've repeated myself a few times, I know, but just searching your peg, following them out, and you can keep in contact with them. You might have them on days where you can just chuck it down the same hole, or down, just keep going round and round, but not always. Sometimes you've just got to put a little bit of thought into it and just cast the bait and just try and find a few fish. Does look a better fish. Them munchies just work wonders as well. Like I say, it's more about a visual thing. Brought up baits with the dumbbells, the munchies. Them feeding on sight. And they just aid you in what you've got to do and what you're trying to achieve. And like I say, you combine that, searching your peg a little bit, thinking about where you're starting to where your next move's going to be, starting a little bit shorter, giving yourself an option to go a little bit further if need be, combining them things together, and if you do it, and you do it right, you can keep in tune with these fish and you'll definitely put more fish in your net. That Amino Liquid definitely helps there as well. You know, it just gives you such an edge, just adding that to your fishery pellets. Like I say, looking around the lake today, to be honest, no one's really caught. Half the blokes on the other side's gone home, so nice fish. I just don't give up. That's definitely a bonus fish. Oh, there you go. That there's proof in the pudding. You've got to be prepared to move, go down the visual route, hook baits, munchies, a little bit of amino liquid, and there you go, bonus fish.